Okay, so ready to begin. I have 3 sheets. Are there any other sign-up sheets out there? I thought I might have given one more. No? Anybody else got anything else? Okay, so we're ready to begin. Wow. Okay, first name is difficult. Giovanna Baldessari.
My name is Jonava Baldessari, and I live in Pahoa. I'd like to read a quote. The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by how its animals are treated. Mahatma Gandhi. I took part in a 5-day spay and neuter clinic last week, and that was held by Animal Balance. They're an international group, and they go around to islands and they spay and neuter cats, and I believe dogs also. This clinic was just for the cats, and they spayed and neutered almost 700 cats, so there was a need in our community. The reason they came to our community is that out of the 50 states, Hawaii is the 39th highest in the killing of cats, and that's why they came. Not something to be proud of. The amendment that is proposed to me sounds like a very regressive instead of a progressive approach. There's spaying and neutering going on, trapping, spaying and neutering, and finding homes for cats, and that seems to be a better way to go than killing cats. Another thing that really bothers me is that in the amendment, it says something like that they would kill the cats by any means necessary. And that sounds very drastic and kind of draconian. So I'm picturing possibly that they would starve, poison, or shoot the cats. And I think that is inhumane. And it does not show aloha, and I think it would be a blight on this state to do that. Thank you very much.
Sally Waite.
I'm a retired teacher. I taught here for almost 50 years. I'm very concerned about what's going on with the cat population because I lived in Waikoloa for 20 years and never had a cat bothered living right in a subdivision. And now I have 3 acres. I live out in orchid land. And I've had 3 cats put down by neighbors. And I find this just really sad. In fact, one of them I have worked with on things for the community, for the orchid land community, and so I find it particularly bad. It's hard for me to even go to those meetings now. But it's heartbreaking, I think, to the people who have these cats, and I think we do have to be more careful about maybe rounding them up and getting them neutered so that we don't have so many cats out having kittens. I mean, I don't think that's the best thing. But that's my main reason for being here. I was very fortunate that somebody here knew that I had cats down at the pound, so I went down and I got a cat. And then I adopted a couple more cats because I felt sorry for them. And then I was so sad to find out the next day they just did away with all the rest of them. And there were a lot there. Anyway, that's all for today. Sorry about my voice. It's been a long day. And I'm 87 years old.
You might want to speak to that because it's about in the harbor.
Sharon Caldwell.
My name is Sharon Caldwell, and I live in Pepacao. I volunteer with Rainbow with Mary Rose, and I have a colony of cats up at Akaka Falls that I take care of with a couple of other people who are generous with their time. I think this particular ruling, or this potential ruling, I believe they tried this a year or two ago, wasn't it, when they tried to say that you couldn't feed feral animals on state land? And I believe the ruling read something initially like, you cannot feed rats, feral cats, and mongooses. And somebody crossed out rats, as if we were going to go feeding rats. I don't think we'd feed mongooses either. So it was really aimed at the feral cats, and that was it. It was obvious. There's a lot of problems on this island, and on all these islands, but particularly this one. We have way too many cats and not enough people to adopt them. But going and trying to kill the cats doesn't work. First of all, you won't be able to do it. And you won't be able to do it because you look at our terrain here, and there are cats everywhere. I live out in the country in Pepacao. There could be 100 cats. There aren't, but there could be 100 cats around my house, and I wouldn't know it. So if you go and you think you're going to round up these cats and in some way kill them, and if you miss 1 or 2 cats, you know what? Next year, you're going to have 100 more cats. It doesn't work, and it's been proven not to work. I'm a member of Alley Cat Allies as well. As one of the people mentioned, we had an international group here. They go around the world, from the Galapagos Islands, all over the place, trying to help the places to get these problems under control, because it's a problem. But killing the cats is not going to work. You will not be able to round them all up. You may kill somebody's cats that are pets. You may kill cats that have been abandoned. They're not feral, most of them. They're abandoned cats, I will tell you that. People drop them off because they don't want to be bothered anymore with them. Or they're pregnant and they don't want to deal with the kittens. So they're not feral in the sense that we think of feral as cats that have lived outside their whole lives. So I just want to say, you have to find a different way, which is spay, neuter, trap, spay, and neuter, and release, because that is the only way. I know at Akaka Falls, our population has gone down from about 30 cats to about half that, because we've been trapping and neutering over the course of 2 years. And we have healthy cats. We feed them 5 or 6 days a week. There are people up there to feed them. We don't see the sickness or the skin conditions anymore that we used to see initially. So keep that in mind. There are better ways to do this. There is a problem. Absolutely. Nobody will tell you no. But trying to kill all these animals, apart from the humane aspect, is not going to work. So, thank you very much.
We're not talking about statewide, we're talking about strictly only in boating facilities, okay? So I know Akaka Falls isn't a boating facility.
No, but it's still not gonna work.
Okay. I'm not saying.
No, I understand.
I have no opinion. It seemed like we were getting way away
I
from.
did see it was at boating facilities, so I assume you mean our little harbor down here
Yes.
on this island.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Sylvia Dolina?
I think it's just the 3 things about the cat.
I don't know.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Dolina, and I am opposed to the changes to be made to Chapter 13-232-57.1. In that chapter, it says that people will not be allowed to feed cats, stray cats, colony cats, trapped cats, neutered cats, monitored cats, or whatever, on the property under the jurisdiction of the state. Now, what's not really clear in some of that is if you're only talking about boat harbors, then it needs to say that, because sometimes it does, well, further down it doesn't say that. It says state property. So if you're going to clarify, then every time you say state property, you say state property regarding the boat harbors and all of that. Because what we have found is the laws are written very vaguely and they're open to interpretation. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, there is a state law under animal cruelty that says that it's 711-1901, cruelty to animals. And cruelty to animals means starving or allowing animals to starve. And if you don't allow feeders who are feeding these managed colonies to feed anymore, the cats will most likely starve. And by not allowing the feeders to come in, these cats are now dependent on feeders or are not going out to sustain themselves in the wild and all of that. So I would say that if DLNR wants to eliminate the cat population, they must do it within the state law, they must do it humanely, and they must do it with programs that work. Programs that work. Trap, neuter, return, and manage does work. It's been proven on many, many islands where animal balance has gone to, many islands. I manage a colony of 250 cats, and my population growth is down to one mom cat that still needs to be trapped, and she has had a litter in the last 3 months. But other than that, the population growth has gone to almost zero in 4 years, and it can be done. So trap, neuter, I would suggest that we work with programs that do work and are successful rather than trying to starve cats by elimination. Thank you.
Tina Bounce?
Hi, my name is Tina Bounds, and I have a question. In chapter 13-232-57.1, where it says feeding of colonies, strays, wildlife, or feral animals prohibited while on any property under the jurisdiction of the division, no person shall feed or deliberately introduce any food material, substance, or attractant directly to or in the vicinity of any colony, stray, wildlife, or feral animal except as authorized by the department of the department's authorized representative. Are you talking about any state property, including parks, under your jurisdiction? Because it says any property, and can you clarify?
I can clarify, the division is the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation. That's all we're speaking for. We're not speaking for any other agency within the DLNR. We're strictly speaking, this is Hawaii administrative rules regarding boating and boating facilities. So that would be harbors, launch ramps, piers. That's the only areas we're talking about. We're not talking about state parks, county parks.
Oh, yeah, because it says any property, so that's not very
Well,
clear.
it says within
to-
the division. I'm looking at my smaller one, and it's speaking, it's Dover rules. This is all we're talking about. This is Dover. We can't make rules for state parks anyway. We don't have the authority to. We only have the authority to make rules for boating and ocean recreation property, that's all.
Okay, and I have another question. It's chapter 13.232-57, where it says pet owner means any person owning. In that section, it says stray means any dog, cat, or other animal without a microchip or other registered owner identifier, or is living or roaming off its owner's property without permission to be on other public or private property. Strays may also be feral or abandoned. Without permission, how do you verify that the animal had permission or not? And, I mean, it's just, how are we gonna, interrogate the animal and the owner, and how is that? Can you maybe
I think,
clarify?
and part of the would be like talking about having dogs on leashes. It's required. It's another part of the package. Dogs have to be on leashes and licensed with the county or checked. We don't have any, quote, on this island, we don't have any pets that live in the harbor because we have no liveaboards. But people can bring and are welcome to bring their dogs into the harbor. I suppose if someone brought their cat with them, they would probably need to take measures to make sure the cat stays with them on their boat or whatever they're doing. That's as clarified as I can get. If you want further clarification, I'll have to get back to you on that, because that's a little more.
Yeah, I would like that, because it says, it's not very clear, public, private property. It can mean, I don't understand public or private property. Is that in the harbor, or
Well,
what is?
Well, public property would be the public property of the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation. That would be public. There is some private property in harbor, in essence, of areas that are leased. I'll just use the example of Gentry's. If you've been on the west side, Gentry's has a pretty large piece of property within Winnebago Harbor that's leased. So that's their area. They've leased it, they're responsible for it. So in essence, it still belongs to boating, but it's leased exclusively to Gentry's for their use, so that might be considered private. I don't know of any, quote, private property that's actually within a state boating facility that belongs to a private individual.
Besides the vessels, maybe.
Vessels are private property. Each vessel's independently owned.
Okay. All right, one thing I want to add. The world is watching through the notification and updates from national and international organizations, ASPCA, the Humane Society of the United States, PETA, Animal Balance, Cat Allies, in addition to all of our local animal welfare groups. Being on a world stage promoting killing is not Pono way. This is not aloha.
Aloha. My name is Tanya Yamanaka Anasazian, and I live in Pahoa. And I'm here to oppose the proposed changes to administrative rules related to the TRM and feeding cats on state property. And I understand you've clarified now that that's just boating and recreation, but any changes to administrative rules sets a precedent for future changes in other areas. And I want to make that very clear. These changes criminalize compassion in regard to caring for feral and abandoned animals, including cats, dogs, and other animals. Our community here in Hilo just last week held a 5-day MASH clinic in which almost 700 cats were vaccinated, spayed, neutered, and microchipped. Animal Balance, the organization which provided these services, specializes in island communities to bring a humane solution to pet population issues like we have, including the Galapagos, American Samoa, Aruba, and the Dominican Republic. I urge you to seek out these more compassionate solutions to the problems that we as humans have brought on ourselves. Killing is not a form of population control, especially when proven alternatives exist and are being implemented here and across the globe. DLNR is not trained, educated, or understanding of animal rights and animal welfare issues. Tonight, I urge DLNR decision makers and members of the land board to ask yourselves, what does it mean to be human? To be human and have the power to choose how to approach and solve a problem that we have created through our own ignorance, complacency, and misunderstanding. We are only one species on this planet, and we can choose to feel and to love and to nurture the life of other species around us and take compassionate actions, or we can choose to control and eradicate living populations by starving and killing them. Let's do what it takes to compassionately address everyone's concerns regarding this issue and do what is Pono. In a world where killing and throwing things away is the norm, we here in the land of Aloha must strive to be better and show our aloha to all animals. Thank you.
Mahalani Henry.
Aloha. My name is Mahialani Keivi Komo'o Kekua Okalani Henry. And I am here because I am representing not just myself, not just the people who love their animals, not just the homeless animals, not just my own ohana, many of them who are fishermen, who do work off of fishing boats, many their own, who fish in our ocean waters, who that it matters. It truly matters what goes into our oceans. It truly matters what goes into our environment. And we need to really pay attention to these things. Like I said, my ohana, which is one of the largest ohana on this island and throughout the other islands as well, would be here. Had we had enough notice, we would have filled this room, plus this whole building, if need be. Especially as the word goes out that there is poison that's going to be used, poison, in our harbor areas. Excuse me, people. Poison? Where does that go if in case the mice and the rats don't get it? It goes back it leaches into our waters. And even if some of the cats do eat that poison, etc., it still does not resolve this pilikia. This is a huge pilikia. And it's going to be made even bigger if the DLNR, in their mastering, Kalamai. The pono is a little bit hard sometimes. We got to stretch them. Okay? But you know what I mean. And so I urge all of you as well to stand behind this, to come forward and to say, no, there are humane ways to take care of this pilikia. No make more pilikia, especially in our islands. Hawaii, I don't know, maybe I look around this room, well, okay then. Most all of you folks have roots elsewhere, okay? But I can tell you this, my roots is here. I only get Hawaii. Even if there was to tell me, hui, go home. Guess what? We can tell you folks, yeah, hui, go home. You guys get China, you get Japan, you get all over. Where do us Hawaiians have? Right here. So yes, it's important to us. It should be also as important to you, and I'm sure that it is. Please tell your friends, tell your families. You folks chose to live here. We didn't necessarily choose the same, but I think even though that we didn't necessarily choose it, had to be, had to be. So for all you folks who love Hawaii as much as we do, as much as we Hawaiians do, then please, let us clean up the hale. Let's clean the house up. No need any more pilikia. No need have our oceans threatened. No need have poison all over the place. Awe. That never worked. It's still no work. Okay? So whoever put this down on the palapala, on the paper, time that we help them. And people, believe me, the aloha is about helping. Okay? Like these two individuals, I am thankful. I truly am. I am thankful that they are here, that at least we get the opportunity to make our thoughts known, and that they are recording it, and that they will carry it back to their people as well. Okay, so this is an opportunity. Look at it with aloha. As long as each one of us continue to display and continue to mentally think and have the heart in aloha, guess what? We'd be okay. The canoe can run. And that's how it is. We're all in the same canoe. We can all eat together. Make it happen. So yeah, you folks have heard all these concerns and you'll hear more of it. At least for now, please keep the aloha in mind. Okay, because that's how it's going to work. Only through aloha. We can make it happen. We're all in this canoe. We truly are. All together. Right? Okay, maha. Thank you.
Haha, Navahine,
Hi, my friend.
right?
Yeah, I can't read your writing. Kind of stupid. Is that you?
That's me.
Sorry.
Good.
Oh, he. Got that part. I just,
Hey, that was good. Got that part.
oh, those are 9 years, I'm getting there.
Aloha. My name is Navahine Kahopi'i. I'm a kumuhula and director of Aloha Animal Advocates. We are a hui of island-wide nonprofits dedicated to animal rights and welfare. I reside in the Ahupua of Pu'ukapu, and I'm here today to oppose the changes to the administrative rules that relate to TNR management and to the criminalizing of compassion, meaning preventing us from caring for feral animals that includes cats, dogs, goats, pigs, etc., because that is what was in there. Just a little history for people who will have an issue with what is termed as feral cats. Cats have been part of our ecosystem since the early 1800s. Dogs, pigs, and roosters actually are indigenous because they came with the first migrations and are also manifestations of our deities. So for some of us, they are our almakua. Little bit of history, Queen Kapiolani fed and cared for stray cats and dogs, often taking them back to Iolani Palace for extended care. She had so much compassion, as well as King Kalakaua, that they actually founded the first Hawaii Humane Society on the palace grounds. History lets us know that cats that are on Iolani grounds today are actually from the era of Kapiolani, so that colony is actually royalty.
Yeah.
Right. Our community just held a 5-day spay-neuter mash clinic, as you've been hearing. 700 cats were spayed and neutered along with given vaccinations. They were microchipped and given other medical attention. Our island received 1,200 service hours and $116,000 worth of services and resources, with much more to come, and that was at no cost to the state or the county. On top of that, we also hold 4 monthly mini MASH clinics that are smaller versions of that week-long clinic. Also know that Animal Balance, along with the nonprofit animal welfare organizations, have mapped out a strategic plan already with the support of Animal Balance, so we are already taking care of this issue. The island community has gotten together, and I don't mean to be rude, but we're steps ahead of where you are at. The killing of animals has been done for 25 years, and obviously it's only gotten worse. So the strategic plan that we're working is something that's been proven in 500 other communities across the continental United States, and we have the help of some very powerful organizations. One of them, not the only one, but one of them being Animal Balance, who specializes in island community pet overpopulation. They know what they're doing, and they're here to help us. As you've heard before, killing is not a solution. And for myself, I'm not saying this personally, but I almost resent the DLNR stepping in at this point because you didn't come and talk to us. If you do what you're doing now, you're actually going to undermine all of the work, all of the organizing, all of the planning that our community has done over a period of years on our own, and we have worked together to bring the resources to our community. We've offered them, and they're being received by the county council and the mayor and so forth. So this is actually, we would almost say, a little more than the LA, not quite Maha'oi, but it's going to go there if you're going to push them. And if you need more clarification on that, I'll explain that to you. But it's in our culture, almost rude for you to come into the community with that plan when we've been working for so long on solving this on our own. So the killing is not a solution, and it'll undermine and interfere with our hard work to humanely bring our pet population to a sustainable level. And the other thing I really want to, I guess, go on record and sort of be confronted with is the method of killing, mainly poison, and I think Auntie really spoke about that. Starvation and the poisoning, in terms of if you're doing this because of the indigenous populations, whatever the issue is, we've taken care of pu'eo that have eaten poisoned rats and mice, and we've watched them suffer and die, and they're part of our indigenous population. We've taken care of eo, of the hawks that have gone through that. So this is obviously not a solution. I think hunters understand you're not going to eat one pua'a down and just eat something poison, right? You're wasting the food. Even if coming from a hunting perspective, or people like my family that live subsistence, when the poisoning goes on Pohakuloa or wherever you're going to do it, you can't eat that then. And it's going to be the same for the fish. If that's going to be close to the shore, any ma'a fisherman's going to say, I'm not going over there. I'm not going to go there and eat from any of that harbor place because of what might be there. Our people are very sensitive to the aina and very sensitive to if things are not pono and not in place. They won't go in the water. They're not going to put the line in there. They're not going to lay the net. It's destructive to our animals. It's more destructive to our culture, and I think you really need to understand that. Going back to the killing specifically of cats and the cat colonies, I think you understand what the vacuum effect is. And that's what we've been going through for 25 years. You wipe out a colony, 2 years later you have twice the amount of cats. You wipe out another colony, 2 years later, plus other issues that go on with them. Not only has the colony doubled, but they're sick, they're unhealthy because they're not being managed and taken care of because we're not allowed to do that. So that's another issue that you really need to understand about is the vacuum effect. And then that leads to understanding that the efforts to eliminate any kind of species causes an unforeseen collateral damage. The collateral damage from carrying this out the way you're talking about is devastating in many areas. Culturally, our food supply, subsistence lifestyles, and the animals themselves that are going to suffer. It would be better if you worked with us and with local animal welfare organizations. We have resources that you don't have. I think I read somewhere where your entire island budget to implement this is $300,000. Is that right? I read that somewhere. So we already had 100,000 of that just in 1 week. So we've already had a third of your budget for this entire thing come to our community in 1 week. I think I read that from the meeting that was held in Kauai. Anyway, there we are. So you have tens of thousands of dollars in world-class services that are going to are pouring into our community. It would be my ka'iloa for you to say mahalo for our help and to come on board with our plan. Aloha.
Are you aware of this poisoning?
No, I'm not aware of any of that. Also, I'm not aware of any budget. Paula Wilson?
Hi, I'm Paula Wilson, and I feed colony of cats at Isaac Hale boat ramp. And I would hate to see anything happen to them or any of the other animals on the island, cats, dogs, you name it. It's inhumane to poison, and it not only poisons the animals, and it poisons us. And as has been said, the fish supply, it leaches into the ground, and many of us go and pick our fruit off of, and vegetables off of what is on different lands that you may poison, and that would be poisoning us also.